Okay, everybody, welcome back to Desert Streamin'. Marco here with my wonderful co-host, Katie Comiskey.
Thank you.
And we have this great guest, Amanda
we love
Smith.
her.
Amanda, welcome on our podcast.
Hey, guys.
And Amanda, when we're recording this, it's only a couple days before your wedding.
Truly a couple days before your wedding.
So by the time this is released, you will be a wedded bride.
A
betrothed woman.
I think betrothed is engaged. She'll be
Is betrothed
I have no idea. I'm single as the day is long. I'm a long person. She'll be a bride. A wife. That's
a wife. That's
the word. You will be a wife.
We're like Chaucer trying to get the Middle English.
Maiden.
So for those of us, or those of you who have been following this is a series on the Pride Month do's and don'ts. And so this is an installment of that. And what I really want this to be is an encouragement for strugglers, those who are experiencing same-sex attraction, who find this month, this June, to be more of a threat than an opportunity. And so I'm going to invite Amanda just to share a little bit of her experience. But before we get into the do's and don'ts, can you share a little bit about who you are, Amanda, in a nutshell?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Amanda. I live here in Kansas City, and I got into Living Waters back in, let's see when I moved here, back in 2016. But before I became a Christian, I had lived a life where I thought maybe God made a mistake, that he made me a woman. So I had some gender confusion and, identified as a lesbian and dated mostly women. With a host of other sins, but that being the more entrenching sin in my life. So God has redeemed me and is redeeming me. And I've had people there at that office that have walked with me. And now it's my joy to, here in Kansas City and beyond, to walk with others as well. So,
Amanda, you're amazing. You're one of our best Living Waters leaders. Honestly, you do a thriving Living Waters here in Kansas City. And we're just so grateful to have you a part of the Desert Stream family. So really great to have you on the podcast today.
Feelings mutual.
So the first do is stay close to Jesus.
Do stay close to Jesus.
Do stay close to Jesus. So, obviously that's the first and foremost thing. Like, we have to stay near to the Lord in this possibly tempestuous season for you. So can you give us a little bit of insight and keeping in mind the struggler who is listening, wanting some help in this?
Yeah, absolutely. So for myself, whatever I do to stay close to Jesus, to abide in Jesus, in any extended time, especially in the month of June when there's extended temptation or maybe discouragement, I just double down on what I normally do. I just double down on it. So whether that's adoration, worship, prayer, journaling. But there's one thing that helps me specifically, and it helps me with remembering, because there's so many times that God will tell us to remember, and that's because I think we're so prone to forget. And so that is when I'm doing a prayer time, not just asking God for what I need. Of course, I do that, and we should, but also taking the time to listen to him and to see what he has to say, and then writing it down.
Wow.
Like writing it down so I can remember what God has said to me. It's normally very simple, but very affirming of me, and very loving, and reassuring me that he's with me. Now, we need to remember that. So I normally write it down, and I spend a lot more time doing that during the month of June than other times.
Beautiful.
That is beautiful. Yeah, I love the idea of remembering what God has done, and it's funny you say that, because yesterday I had like this song come into my mind, which I don't really think in songs. And it was a song that I remember putting my earphones in when I was in the seminary, kind of in the crux of coming to the Lord with all of my sin and shame and duplicitous life. And this song really ministered to me. And as I replayed it yesterday, it reminded me of what God has done. So I love that. It's like a simple thing, like just remember what Jesus has done in your life, and what an antidote to, like you said, discouragement or the heaviness, the familiar heaviness that June can bring people, Yeah. So it brings us to our second point, which is
Don't. But it's not phrased in a way to make it don't.
No, don't say that.
Okay.
It's steer clear of sin. Katie was going to say don't
No, I was
steer.
going to say don't sin.
Oh, don't sin.
Don't
Yeah.
put yourself in situations where you're likely to sin.
Yeah, because obviously don't sin, but I'm talking more about those occasions in which we put ourselves in the nearness of sinning. So can you speak to that a little bit, Amanda?
Yeah, it does remind me of a friend who used to say, hey, if you're on a diet, don't go into a donut store,
Exactly.
obviously, which, but I think also, and that's clear, right? So steer clear of things, but there's also things that I've noticed for me that are triggers for me that can lead my heart to a place where I'm more prone to sin. I'll give a silly example since you're talking about music before. There's a certain type of music that I can listen to that reminds me of my past somewhat. And you know, when I'm feeling nostalgic, I'll go back and listen to some of it. But also there's certain times where that music can bring my heart to a place where it's not, it's not the greatest place to be. And so I have to be aware enough to be like, hey, where is that leading your heart? Is this actually edifying you, or where is this taking you to? Because I think there's things like that, especially for me, music is very powerful in my life. They can just lead my heart to a place where I could end up doing something that maybe, you know, I'm like, oh man, I did that thing, and now I have to go and ask for forgiveness, and God's so faithful to do that, but I just rather avoid it in the first place.
No, that's great. And so it's what I'm hearing you say is like really know yourself. Like, hey, I don't do well when I maybe get on that social media app, or when I listen to this type of music, or when I watch this movie or something. I mean, I'm not, obviously we're not saying become scrupulous in our life,
Sure.
but at the same time, like just know yourself. Don't walk into the same places.
Yep.
And I guess the question is like, so maybe you put on the song and you're like, oh no, I don't like where this is headed. What are like some tips for people who, you know, because some strugglers are so new at this, right? So we have some veterans of the fight who kind of know their triggers, and they can say, oh, I know not to put that song on. But, you know, maybe you're new to this and you're like, I don't even know myself well enough at this point to know what's going to trigger me. I mean, of course, don't go on Pornhub. Like, you know, we're not, of course, there's people know the obvious ones, but what are maybe more subtle ways in which like you can learn to kind of fight against those situations that could make you maybe fall into sin? Like, are there sort of like what just your own experience of maybe newer into this? Like, how did you learn what your triggers were, and how did you learn to avoid them? I know that's a big question, but I think not everyone is so self-aware at the beginning of their journey.
Yeah, I think it's as simple. I'm just thinking back. That's a great question. I'm thinking back to like my younger years, especially the years where like I didn't have same-sex attraction for a little bit, and then I did, and like, you know, it came back with like a vengeance. And I'm thinking there. I think the things there were, especially people as well, like hang out with people. So maybe it's not okay. I don't know my trigger, but is it? Where is my heart at?
Wow.
Like what am I being drawn to? Am I being drawn to want to be closer to Jesus, or am I being drawn into thinking, and what you're thinking about says a lot, right?
Yeah.
So what's your internal dialogue that's happening? And then when you notice your internal dialogue is temptation, discouragement, maybe ask yourself with the Lord and the Lord, hey, what in my environment, is there something in my environment that's actually leading me in this direction? Will you show me what that is? But I think it could be people, media, all sorts of those things.
Yeah, I like that. That's simple. It's just like, this isn't making me feel good. I'm gonna take a step back. Like, you don't need to know everything. You don't need to know the sort of the root cause, but it is a simple just being aware of how you're feeling, and everyone has the ability to discern that. I think that's great. Very helpful.
Yeah, and that can change in certain seasons.
Sure.
Like, it's not like Marcus said, we're not like, you know, we're not going to be super legalistic about it and like avoid everything, but just being aware of where you're at and knowing when you can partake of freedoms and when maybe it's not a good idea.
Yeah. And even to maybe find other ways in which you can enjoy, like find another song, or find a good movie, or go enjoy a beer with a friend or something, you know, do something that you can kind of feast when you're trying to fast on sin, replace it with some sort of feast. You know, that's always good. I think sometimes, I think Catholics are more prone to this. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but we love to feel like we're doing something penitential when in fact the Lord may be inviting us to actually enjoy creation in moments where we are prone to be dry and discouraged, which may foster more temptation and more discouragement. And so there's an invitation there to be like, you know what? I need to let up a little bit and enjoy good community at a nice brewery and just enjoy life and laugh or something, you know?
That's so true. So true.
Well, it brings us to our next point, which is a do.
Do. Have community.
This is your part.
Okay, well,
no, we rehearsed this.
No, Marco does these things that
No.
We
rehearsed
like this is a well-oiled machine and like this is my cue and there's never been a cue. There's never been a script. We're not improv
No, we
partners.
practiced this and she failed.
Well, you didn't set it up well. That was... You're a bad teammate. He hasn't even phrased these. I have to make them a phrase in my mind. Do have good community.
Yes, like you need good community in this season. You can't do it alone. Yes, devotion to Jesus, but Jesus alongside others. So Amanda, how do you do this? How do you gather community and who knows about your struggle?
Yeah. Well, so, you know, the great thing about being a Living Waters leader is Living Waters has taught me the strength in being known in my weakness with the appropriate people in the appropriate times. And so I have overseers who know my weaknesses, of course. Then I have the South, this wonderful couple that I coordinate with as well, who I share my weakness. And honestly, my whole Living Waters teams, because in our Living Waters team, we confess our sins to one another and even our temptations. And so, of course, I don't go to all the team members for stuff, but when I'm struggling, I go to my fiance, right? I go to my fiance, I go to my co-coordinators, my overseers, and then I just have great friends that are peers that I'll just go to and talk things out. I think I feel like I'm fortunate because I've fostered that. I've grown. I've walked in that. I'm really burdened for those who don't have that. And when you talked about this podcast, I was like, man, there was a time when I did not have that, and it was really a hard season for me. Yeah. And so I found actually someone over the phone. You know, I found someone that I could talk to over the phone. Wow. I'm going to do a shameless plug here, but so if you don't have someone, I'm going to give you a couple ways. One, if you don't have anyone, right, especially someone older, I think we all need someone that's older. Go to your pastor or your priest and say, hey, I'm really struggling here. You've heard my confessions. You know my struggles. And if they don't, please share with them. Is there someone in this parish or church that you think that would walk with me, that I can maybe start a friendship with, that would be mature enough to walk with me? So I would recommend at least starting that conversation. But also, you know what I found very helpful is Restored Hope Network. Yeah. Has like a network where if you go on their website, they have mentors all throughout the country. Oh, wow. So in June, if you need someone to talk to, if there's no Living Waters group around you, if you can't jump on the Cross Current group that Dean's doing right now.
Another plug?
I think there's only three weeks left on that.
Yes, Amanda, I would go.
I would go to Restored Hope Network and find a mentor there, even one that's not in your state, and just begin the process of learning how to talk to someone about this.
Yeah. And what I love about you, Amanda, is you're a go-getter. Like you don't just let things come to you in a way that's really admirable and something that we should all be like. You make it happen. And I think when it comes to like building community, you know, coming out of, you know, sin, brokenness, or just sort of coming out of the dark and into the light, we kind of assume that, well, if God's healing me, then there's going to be this beautiful group of people plop right in front of me and they're going to welcome me in and I'm just going to be loved and embraced, warts of all, as opposed to, for most of us, it's so hard, but you kind of have to sometimes, like you said, foster your own community. You have to take the initiative and build it, and you do that in every area of your life. You don't take no. You don't take the lesser. You just said, okay, and you don't grow discouraged. And so I don't know how, I mean, this is off script a little bit, but how do you do that? Like in your life, like how do you just say, no, this is my goal. This is what is going to be best for me. And I'm going to do what I need to make it happen. And when discouragement and failure comes, I don't let that stop me or stifle me. You keep going. Like, how do you do that so well?
That's a great question.
Like, how have you fostered that innate gift in yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's a gift. There's a shadow side and a good side to that gift.
Yes.
Like anything.
Yeah, it could be a lot.
It's true. I think I just know when I find out something that's good for me and I need that, I'm just going to go after it. I'm just going to do it. And, and like you said, you haven't been discouraged. That's not true. Of course I've been discouraged. I just don't let the discouragement keep me from keep moving forward. I might fall down and dust myself back off and, tend to my wounds, but then I keep moving forward by the grace of God. So I just think there is like a tenacity that she's like, no, I'm going to, no matter how many times I fumble, falter, I'm just going to keep going for it because I know that's something that's good and will be for my best and that God wants for me.
Yeah, it's a mindset almost. I mean, you probably have it temperamentally, but all of us can have that mindset and we can be like, okay, no, I do just have to learn how to dust myself off. You won't get far if you don't have that mindset because you will fall and you will find challenges and you will experience discouragement, but just the mindset of no, and then I pick myself up, I dust myself off and I don't read into it too much. I can feel it, but I don't let it define me. I think that's one of your best attributes. I admire it greatly.
It reminds me of Joseph Nicolosi when I read his book, and he makes a point in saying, and those who don't know Joseph Nicolosi, he was like kind of a great thinker, therapist. There's a lot of people allergic to him today. I'm not so allergic. He's a really amazing, thoughtful thinker in this area, but he wrote a lot about the insights into male homosexuality in particular, and he said that those without much hope and who have like this fostering of hope habit just in them won't make it very far in this regard. Wow. And it's so true. He's like, this isn't magic. This isn't like, oh, you get this special kind of therapy and then it all kind of goes away. See, It's like, no, it's like this enduring, I'm adding here, but he was a Christian, like Christocentric Jesus fire in you that is urging you on to the next thing, to the next step of integration. And so we need that. Strugglers, we need that. And so this month, may it not be a threat, but an opportunity to stoke the flame of Jesus in your heart. And you actually need others to do that. And so I even urge our listeners here who are thinking, well, I don't have that community. Like Amanda said, well, you start it, pray about a couple of people who you can reveal your wound to, and that will invite community. So I urge you and challenge you. I challenge you to do that. So please.
And I like the mentor. Like it's kind of two different things. Like there's communities of peers and there's a mentorship, and I'm not saying they can't be both, but how beautiful to use a RHN resource. So you have someone who is a little bit ahead of you, who's kind of guiding you. And then you have your peers who are like, we're just doing this together. And you kind of need both the community of peers, but also the one who's a little further ahead of you to kind of help you. I think both, and great resources. We'll link to those.
Yep, I'll link those.
Show notes.
You need both.
Yeah, agreed.
Both.
Absolutely.
Oh, he's so cool. Gosh, Marco's so freaking cool.
And then the last don't be surprised by your struggle. So I know a lot of people encounter June and they're like, oh, I'm feeling an amplified sense of homosexual temptation. And so they may be tempted to think, well, Jesus never healed me then, or, this is too strong. It must be who I am. So Amanda, maybe give us a little bit of insight into your own experience of that and how it is helpful just to remember, like, hey, don't be surprised by your familiar weakness.
Yep. Yeah. It's funny because I don't think we do this in any other area of sin that we're drawn to, right? It's this one area that we do this in. So it's like, if I'm tempted by, I don't know, gluttony, right? If I'm tempted by gluttony, and I'm tempted by it again years later, it's like, oh, I'm not going to, so it doesn't, so I just want to diffuse the lie there because there's obviously a lie about this. But I was thinking about this question. There's this trail that I ride my bike on, and there's this one section where you go under this bridge, and it takes forever, and it's really dark.
Whoa.
And I never have my headlamp on my bike
That is
because
so
I normally just ride in the
dangerous.
day.
Amanda, does Rich know about
I know.
this?
So,
Is your-
so I'm riding, and I go under this bridge, and it's dark, and it feels like I'm there forever.
yeah.
But I've been here before, and I know that the end is coming. And so I just do exactly what I know how to do. It's like the elementary things, right? So I just hold on to the handlebars, I pedal, I steer straight, and I don't freak out because I know the light is coming.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of how I see these temptations. June, if you're like filled with a heightened temptation, we're tempted to be like, oh my gosh, like, where'd my healing go? I knew I had that somewhere. It's like, you haven't lost your healing.
Amen.
It's not gone. You're just experiencing some temptation. Don't throw it all away. Don't be discouraged, and just know what you know to do, which are the same elementary things, and keep moving because the light is coming. And you can see it, you can see it, it's there. And so that's kind of how I've taught myself. I will admit that when you have seasons of like, it's been really good for you, or maybe you haven't had any temptation, or, maybe it's been 2 weeks and that's the longest you've ever gone, and then it comes back with a vengeance, it could feel very disorienting.
Yeah.
So go to Jesus for some encouragement, take care of yourself in those seasons, and, just keep pedaling, just keep holding on. Because the end is always near. It's only a season. That's the great thing about seasons, is that they change, and we can count on that.
That's great.
I love that image.
That's a really helpful analogy.
Yeah. You actually stole it from me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. That's crazy that you do it on air.
How dare you steal that?
Going viral. This is how we go viral. Podcaster confronts guests for
Plagiarism.
idea plagiarism.
No, I love that. I feel like we've been having a couple people on, and they have great images.
I know, that are so
that are really
because
good.
analogies really do stick with you. Like deep
Yeah.
insights, you're like, I'll remember that forever. And you're like, I don't remember what they said, but I'll remember. Like again, it's so helpful for everyone. Like any temptation, it's like, no, just keep going.
Yeah.
But like in the dark, it's very hard to be like, there's no end in sight. But it really is just a few more pedals. And then you can maybe buy a headlamp.
Amanda, you need to invest
Buy
in
a
a headlight.
headlamp is like the word of God. Is the headlamp
No, just kidding.
to keep you straight and narrow.
Well, Amanda, this was great.
You're great.
Thank you so much. We
Yes.
love being with you,
Yes.
and just hearing about your experience of
Yeah.
what God has done and is doing. So thank you for tuning in, everybody. And for those of you who are struggling, particularly in this season, again, check out the show notes. I will link the Restored Hope Network, like Amanda said, and then I'll also link our website, Desert Stream. So, like Amanda also said, she plugged a lot of things.
Look,
My Venmo, I'm just kidding, is another thing is we have online help groups that we do called Cross Current.
Online help groups. So couth. It's online programs.
I'm
That
unraveling.
sounds so sad. Online
I'm
help.
unraveling.
You need an online help group. We got something. It's just online.
I'm not well, guys.
communities.
I'm just kidding. So, yes, I will link all of that, and don't hesitate to reach out. You're not alone. We want to walk with you, even if it's virtual. So please don't hesitate to do that. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. God bless you.
Bye.